very good morning and welcome to Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. Let's start with the headlines first. Prime Minister returns from three-nation tour, makes a big pitch for Make in India, calls for a united Asia for inclusive growth. United Nations report projects India's economic growth to surpass China's in 2015-16. Kejriwal-Najib Jung turf war in the national capital gets ugly. Delhi government calls meeting of secretaries after meeting with President yesterday. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi writes to Rajnath Singh over food park in Amethi, seeks revival of project he alleges was scrapped by the centre. And Islamic State militants prepare to defend captured Iraqi city of Ramadi amid reports that Iranian-backed militia men are gathering around it. And our top story this morning, the turf war in Delhi between Arvind Kejriwal and the Lieutenant Governor is intensifying by the day. The two individuals met the President yesterday and the matter over appointment of officers is only expected to escalate.
Is getting uglier by the day. The Delhi Chief Minister and the Lieutenant Governor unsparing in criticism of one another over the appointment of officers. On Tuesday, the fight reached the President's door, with Arvind Kejriwal complaining that Najib Jung is unilaterally taking decisions on posting officers.
LG साहब दिल्ली में उस तरह से सरकार चलाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं जैसे वो प्रेसिडेंट रूल में चलाते रहे हैं. उसमें सबसे बड़ी चीज ये है कि वो ऑफिसर्स को सीधे निर्देश दे रहे हैं. अगर सेक्रेटरीज भी LG साहब तय करेंगे, ऑफिसर्स को सीधे इंस्ट्रक्शंस LG साहब देंगे तो डेमोक्रेसी कहां बचेगी?
Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia has called a meeting of secretaries and the Chief Secretary today morning over the issue. This comes after the Delhi government asked all officers to not take direct orders from the LG's office. Opinion is, however, divided on whether Jung has overstepped his brief.
Public order or police ko chhod ke, Lieutenant Governor is bound by the aid and advice of the Chief Minister. He cannot interfere with the administration.
संविधान में स्पष्ट है, राय देने का काम मंत्री परिषद का है. उपराज्यपाल राय नहीं देते. उपराज्यपाल तो ऑर्डर इशू करते हैं या जो निर्णय हो उसको अप्रूव करते हैं.
The manner in which this whole issue has been raised by the state government, by this kind of brinkmanship by the state government, this is not proper. If they want to get this issue of the authority of the state government vis-a-vis the authority of the Lieutenant Governor in the matter of postings of officers to be settled, they should go to the court.
The Aam Aadmi Party has also accused the central government of attempting a coup through Jung. Home Minister Rajnath Singh will now be meeting the President over the issue today. Several central ministers had defended the Lieutenant Governor as the Congress sided with Kejriwal over the matter. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And to discuss more on the subject, we're being joined this morning in our studio by Aditi Fadnis, political editor at the Business Standard. A very good morning, ma'am, and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. The manner in which the crisis is escalating, both are accusing each other of violating the Constitution. We've heard not just political but legal opinions is also divided. What do you make of the entire issue? Who do you think is overstepping on this particular issue?
Well, the constitutional position seems to be that the LG can do pretty much as he likes. As you know, the Prime Minister, when she was Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi effected an amendment in the Constitution which bound the President to act according to the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. However, this does not extend to the conduct of governors.
Right.
Okay.
And particularly
a Lieutenant Governor, because in the absence of statehood, the state is directly governed by the President through the Lieutenant Governor. And if there is a clash, then you have to go to court. The last time the Chief Minister had a grouse against the Lieutenant Governor, he went to meet the President of India also, just as he's done this time. On that occasion, all the President of India did was to hand over a copy of the Constitution to him, basically to advise him to study the Constitution. Now, please consider the facts. The facts are that Mr. Najib Jung appointed a person in the place of a chief secretary who had gone on leave for 10 days.
Right.
And after that, out of that, I think working days were about 6. He justified his decision by saying that he had appointed the senior most person. The the elected government had somebody else in mind, but they did not cross out the name of that person whom the LG had appointed,
right.
From the list that they had sent. So I really don't know what the fuss is all about, and I think everybody has to be a little bit more mature in running governments.
In fact, when experts like Rajiv Dhawan and Indira Jay Singh, they side with Kejriwal, what is the ground on which they are making such efforts?
No, I'm sure they are extremely well-known lawyers, and they have, I'm pretty sure.
Because as you said, that the governor is not bound by the advice of Council of Ministers.
239A and Article 239AA are quite clear on this. So I don't know why Mr. Kejriwal should feel impelled to take the views of constitutional experts when the constitution is quite clear about it.
Right. Also, the manner in which it's going now, it's become like more of a battle between the Home Minister and Kejriwal, because Kejriwal is accusing that the centre is trying to, destabilize the Delhi government. It's sort of a coup that the Home Minister or the centre is trying.
That logic is just as day follows night. The implication always is that because the Chief Minister is feeling threatened by the Lieutenant Governor, the Ministry of Home Affairs is acting through the Lieutenant Governor. Now this could be true, it could be untrue, but we should never forget the fact that Mr. Kejriwal has MLAs amounting to 67 out of 70. So no person in their right mind can even consider toppling a government with that kind of majority.
True.
I mean, I could have understood that if there was some difference of opinion, there was a hairline majority, and one group was being persuaded to break away, and etc.
And especially when you've had a similar situation when the Chief Secretary was being appointed. The Home Ministry actually went ahead and brought the person that Kejriwal wanted, except the first choice. So So why do you think then Kejriwal is pushing forward? Do you think this is the crisis is being escalated by him to then bring forward the full statehood demand that he's promised to Delhi?
Well, these things don't happen overnight. And secondly, if you consider the kind of standoff, I mean, there were at least half a dozen bills, half a dozen decisions of the State Assembly in Gujarat, which the then Governor Kamla Beniwal said she's not going to clear. I mean, in her wisdom, that was not the right decision to take, even if it was a unanimous decision. So that is the kind of clout and power that governors enjoy. But you didn't see the Narendra Modi coming to Delhi and, insisting with the president that he make the governor do what the assembly is asking her to do. Governor is a kind of a counterpoise to untrammeled power in the hands of this assembly.
Do you then think there is a need to revisit the terms and conditions, the rules that apply to Delhi, which should be made much more clearer both to the Lieutenant Governor, also to Kejriwal?
Well, frankly, I think there's no problem in the rules. There are political agitations raised from time to time. There are institutions which exist, which may require to be refurbished or reimagined. And I think it has to be a consensual effort. It can't be Mr. Kejriwal alone deciding that the Lieutenant Governor is exceeding his breach and should be sacked. It doesn't happen like that.
Also, in the current scenario, do you think there's a fear that the bureaucrats could be politicized? They're being forced to take sides. Either you go with the LG or you go with Kejriwal, and of course then there's a fear that the Home Ministry has your list of transfers and all the incentives that you have. So there is a fear among bureaucrats. They don't want to stay in Delhi, or there is a fear that they'll be politicized.
You're absolutely right, and this is a very, very sad and dangerous development, because ultimately with a government of the experience that Mr. Kejriwal's government has, the bureaucracy is the only link between continuity and change. If they want to change anything, they have to ask the bureaucracy. If they want to continue something, they should
Certainly.
ask the bureaucracy. And they are not enemies of the nation.
Of course.
So to create this kind of a situation where they are forced to take sides is really reprehensible.
The manner in which things are unfolding, they're getting uglier by the day. What options do you think the president has? What do you expect the president to come out and say today?
I don't think the president is going to do anything or say anything, and I don't think he should. This is a matter that has to be resolved by between Mr. Kejriwal and Mr. Jha.
And what's the best way to solve it?
Well, I hope that further decisions are not escalated, that Kejriwal does not second guess the LG on every occasion, because, you know, there are 10,000 problems in Delhi which are crying out for attention.
Yeah, sure.
And really, we need to start, getting...
And like the opposition alleges that it's Kejriwal's gimmick, to
I don't know what it is. If you recall, last time also, there was a dharna barely days into the government. Now again there's a standoff barely months into, weeks into the government. So maybe this is a pathological thing that this government seems to suffer from. True. Which really should not be the case.
So what happens as the day unfolds? What we understand is the Home Minister is getting to meet the President today. So then we'll have to wait and watch and see. Just hope that this escalating crisis comes to an end. Many thanks, Aditi Fadnis, for joining us and giving us those details. And let's now take a look at all the important events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Hearing on the plea challenging tobacco ban in the national capital will resume in the Delhi High Court today. The Delhi government is likely to file its response on the matter before the court. In its last hearing, the High Court had asked the Delhi government not to take coercive action against tobacco sellers till the next hearing. The plea filed by one of the sellers maintains that it challenges the fundamental right to employment guaranteed under the Constitution. A plea challenging Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's order appointing 21 Aam Aadmi Party MLAs as parliamentary secretaries to ministers will be heard by the High Court today. The PIL has sought the quashing of the order on the basis of it being unconstitutional, illegal and without jurisdiction. At least 21 Aam Aadmi Party MLAs were appointed as secretaries to various ministers on the 13th of March, allegedly in violation of the constitutional provisions of Article 239AA of the Constitution of India. Hearing in the R.K. Pachauri bail cancellation plea will take place in the Delhi High Court today. On Tuesday, a separate bench of the High Court had sought response of the TERI director as to why stay on his arrest should not be withdrawn. This after the complainant alleged in her plea that Pachauri was dictating what needs to be said to the witness in the case. The plea also said Pachauri had misused his bail conditions. A plea on whether Pachauri can resume work at TERI will be taken up on the 21st of May. The Delhi Police's plea to conduct polygraph test on 3 suspects in the Suranda Pushkar murder case will come up for consideration before a city court today. In the plea, the police has urged the court to initiate proceedings of polygraph test on Shashi Tharoor's domestic help Narayan Singh, driver Bajrangi and friend Sanjay Devan, saying they were hiding material facts relating to the case. The police has also accused the 3 of misleading the investigation. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Delhi late Tuesday night after his 6-day 3-nation tour to China, Mongolia and South Korea. He held bilateral talks and signed several pacts to bolster India's relations with these nations. Modi, during his 3-nation tour, kept his Make in India campaign on his priority list while holding other strategic meet with leaders, advocating Asia's unity as one to shape the world instead of living in regional fragments. During the 3-nation tour, the Prime Minister signed a slew of agreements with China, South Korea and Mongolia. Indian and Chinese firms signed 26 agreements worth more than $22 billion. Deals were signed in telecom, steel, solar energy and film sectors. India and South Korea signed 7 bilateral agreements in areas ranging from taxation, power, audiovisual production and transport. South Korea will also invest $10 billion in India for infrastructure, development of smart cities, railways and other diversified areas. Also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi became the first Prime Minister to visit Mongolia ever and announced $1 billion credit line to Mongolia for infrastructure development. The two sides inked 14 agreements. After concluding his tour, Modi expressed, and I quote, "I leave with the confidence that our ties will get even better and our relationship will benefit people of other nations," unquote. And as the Prime Minister concluded his three-nation tour, India's economic growth is projected to surpass that of China's in 2006. That is according to a UN report which has said India will help accelerate economic growth in South Asia. According to the report, India's GDP is also expected to zoom by 7.7%. According to the mid-year update of the UN World Economic Situation and Prospects, China is projected to grow 7% in 2015 and 6.8% next year. The report also terms South Asia's economic outlook as largely favorable, since most economies are expected to experience a strengthening of growth in 2015-16 on the back of stronger domestic consumption and investment and a pickup in exports. And let's now take a look at all the other national news and updates in Nationwide. The new service tax rate of 14% will come into effect from the 1st of June. The service tax is at present levied at the rate of 12.36%, including education cess. With the increased service tax, several day-to-day expenses such as eating out in restaurants, insurance and phone bills are set to rise. The Delhi government has reduced one-time sewer and water development charges for new connections by 80%. According to officials, the long-pending decision got approved during a cabinet meeting in Delhi on Tuesday. Delhiites can now avail the benefit of discounted rate for 3 months from the date of notification. 7 Maoists in Ramgarh district of Jharkhand were arrested by the state police. The police also recovered 315-bore bullets and 4 mobile phones from their hideout. The state police went on a search operation following a tip-off. And Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi, who's on a 3-day visit to Amethi, has written to Home Minister Rajnath Singh over the scrapped food park project in his parliamentary constituency. In the letter, Rahul has sought revival of the mega project in Amethi, saying it would better employment prospects in the area. He's also rejected the contention of Food Processing Minister Harsimrat Kaur that lack of gas availability was the impediment in the project. He also fired a fresh salvo at Prime Minister Modi, saying he was taking credit for things done during the UPA rule. Rahul's 3-day visit to his constituency Amethi comes to an end today. We'll slip into a very short break here, but coming up next, President to felicitate the first Indian team to scale the Mount Everest today on the occasion of 50 years of the mission. Details on that when we return. Don't worry.
विश्व भर में लोगों से कहना चाहता हूं, कम मेक इन इंडिया।
A far-reaching reform program. It could be government's most ambitious program yet. India's attempt to lift output and create jobs. But can the government walk the talk? What's our special program? Make in India. Realities beyond the dream. Only on Rajya Sabha television.
3, 2, 1, 0.
As science beckons India into the future, Rajya Sabha television partakes the responsibility, bringing technology to the Indian people.
Let's take a look at various important science events in the country,
monitoring scientific advances as they unravel.
Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has proposed a complete ban on fossil fuels.
Welcome to Eureka.
Interviewing the country's greatest minds. Project the power of science to benefit and transform India. Rajya Sabha television, democracy at work.
Hello and a warm welcome to our special report, the program that brings you a ground zero view from whichever part of the country the Rajya Sabha TV cameras are travelling. It is the same village where the Telangana agitation actually began. We at Rajya Sabha TV bring you the first pictures of the landfall site. This is the main nerve centre where the legal battle for the Kaveri water dispute began. When you are moving around this Niyamgiri hill area, there are 41 streams like these which you have to cross.
No one understands India better than we do. Watch special report only on Rajya Sabha television.
Watch the world come alive in your living room. Defining moments. Momentous events. News Tonight, your window to the world. Every night at 9 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. Let's now get you all the international news. Iran and world powers will begin new negotiations to finalize an accord on the nuclear issue in Vienna today. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister and senior negotiator Abbas Araghchi will meet the European Union's Deputy Secretary General Elga Maria Schmidt to resume drafting the text of a long-awaited deal before the end of June deadline. The EU is coordinating diplomacy with Iran on behalf of the P5+1 nations that include Russia, China, United States, Britain, France and Germany. Iran and the P5+1 have held several rounds of talks on a comprehensive nuclear accord since 2008. The latest round of talks between Iran and the P5+1 concluded in Vienna last week. And amid reports that Iranian-backed militiamen are gathering around the city of Ramadi, the Islamic State militants are preparing to defend the city that they took control of 2 days ago. According to eyewitness accounts, IS fighters have set up defensive positions and laid landmines at various places in Ramadi. They were also going door to door looking for government sympathizers and throwing bodies in the river. Several thousand people have fled the city since the crisis began on Sunday. The United Nations has warned of a humanitarian crisis. Latest news reports suggest that funds and food supplies are fast diminishing due to the large number of people now fleeing from Ramadi and settling in relief camps. Retaking Ramadi now looks a massive challenge, especially when the IS fighters are now equipped with armored tanks, artillery and other weapons which were abandoned by the Iraqi military. And let's now take a look at some more international news and updates in the World Wrap. Pakistani court will resume the trial in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attack case in Lahore today. The court will hold the trial of 7 Mumbai attack accused, including mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi. Last week, the court adjourned the hearing without any further progress in the case. Foreign ministers from Thailand, Malaysia and Indonesia are due to hold an emergency meeting in Kuala Lumpur to discuss the region's migrant crisis. Ahead of the meeting, Indonesia's Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi said the migrant issue is not a problem of one or two countries. She urged more cooperation with the United Nations and other international organizations to resettle thousands of migrants who had abandoned the boats and made it to the shore. Thousands of Bangladeshis and Rohingya Muslims have spent weeks at sea. Thailand, Malaysia and Indonesia all have refused to let them come ashore. The United Nations Middle East envoy Nicola Mladinov warned that people of the Gaza Strip are desperate and angry at everyone for their plight. In his first briefing to the UN Security Council, Mladinov described his shock at the devastation in Gaza after last year's 50-day war between Hamas militants and Israel. He also urged Israel to freeze settlements and reverse recent decisions to advance such activity. The UN and most countries consider settlements that Israel has built on territory captured in 1967 as illegal. Venezuela's parliamentary chief Cabello slammed a Wall Street Journal report that said US authorities are investigating him and other senior officials for possible cocaine trafficking and money laundering. On Monday, the newspaper said federal prosecutors and Drug Enforcement Administration unit were gathering evidence from former cocaine traffickers, Venezuelan military defectors and people once close to top Venezuelan government officials. Venezuelan opposition leaders and US officials have made accusations for years of money laundering and drug trafficking against the governments of President Nicolas Maduro and his predecessor Hugo Chavez. And time now for all the sporting action in Sports Beat. FIFA President Sepp Blatter arrived in Israel for negotiations between Israelis and the Palestinians. FIFA will hold a vote among its 209 members at the Congress in Geneva on whether Israel should be suspended from the World Football Body for violating rules relating to racism. If Israel is suspended, its clubs and teams would not be able to take part in international competitions such as the Champions League and the Euro 2016 competitions. A wax double of soccer great Lionel Messi dressed in 2014 FIFA World Cup soccer kit was unveiled at Madame Tussauds in New York. The statue of the Argentinian forward, now playing for FC Barcelona, was the latest sports figure to join the sports zone at the Wax Exhibition Museum. Messi, who's enjoying a sensational season and has scored 10 goals in Europe's elite competition, alone destroyed Bayern in Barca's 3-0 first leg win after scoring twice last week. Switzerland's Bernard Haag and Tony Sbalby of France set off a new record to climb 7 alpine peaks of more than 4,000 meters within 24 hours. They climbed Jungfrau George first at 3,428 meters above sea level and then attacked Mont and Jungfrau via Jungfrau Fern and Gru Enyek. The journey was 65 kilometers in length and with an ascent of 7,000 meters in all. And at the end of this bulletin, we bring you this story of determination and triumph. President Pranab Mukherjee will felicitate the 8 surviving members of the first team which successfully conquered the Mount Everest peak 50 years ago in 1965. A function will be held at the Rashtrapati Bhavan Auditorium today. The historic climb was led by Captain M.S. Kohli.
On this day, 50 years ago, India succeeded in putting 9 men on top of the world. After 3 attempts in 5 years in 1965, 9 men scaled the Mount Everest, making India the 4th country to scale the world's highest mountain peak. It was a record in itself, as this was the first time that 9 men had scaled the ultimate peak that stands at 8,848 meters. The 21-member India expedition was led by Captain Manmohan Singh Kohli, creating a world record which India held for 17 years. The then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had called the mission a masterpiece of planning, organization, teamwork, individual effort and leadership. In another unprecedented move, the government announced the Arjuna Award for the entire team and Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri for 11 other members of the team. This was the story of triumph at a time when Everest was untouched and unpolluted, when only 3 expeditions had succeeded in putting men on its summit. The oldest surviving member of the team is 92-year-old Gurdial Singh and the youngest is 73-year-old Sonam Bangyal. This felicitation ceremony will be a reunion for the team that conquered the Everest. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, that's it from us this morning. Have a nice day.